Imagine, after a grueling day, you're exhausted and the idea of preparing a meal is overwhelming. What's the answer? You reach for your phone and place a pizza order or pull up to a drive-thru for a burger and fries. This urge for fast, warm, accessible, and likely greasy fare feels uniquely modern. It captures the flavor of our hurried 21st century existence. But what if I revealed that this longing is far from contemporary? What if you could journey through a time machine, traverse 6 centuries, and stand on a crowded, soot-stained road in London or Paris, grappling with an identical conflict? You might be a craftsman with a fleeting lunch interval, a scholar trailing a class, or a visitor who just breached the city's perimeter. You lack a kitchen, have no minutes left, and carry a handful of coins rattling in your satchel. You're starved and must eat without delay. Upon reflecting on medieval cuisine, people often consider 2 opposing views. We typically envision either the lavish banquets of royalty, featuring roasted swans, towering desserts, and numerous spice dishes, or the bleak, repetitive meals of impoverished farmers. Yet, sandwiched between these extremes was a third, dynamic, and crucial culinary aspect: the realm of city street food. This was the first form of takeaway, akin to the medieval counterpart of a hot dog cart or a pizza slice. It belonged to the common folk and was omnipresent. This wasn't centered on gourmet experiences. It prioritized sustenance, ease, and fleeting luxury amid adversity. Materials and techniques varied significantly, yet the yearning for warm, pre-assembled meals remains eternal. Thus, investigate the ancient, spicier, and occasionally hazardous forerunner of contemporary processed snacks. The medieval period was largely agrarian, though its energy, its catalyst for progress and trade, lay in rapidly growing, turbulent, and overpopulated urban hubs. Amidst these tightly clustered city walls, the fast food sector emerged as a necessity. The cause was straightforward. A significant segment of the urban populace lacked cooking facilities. Urban dwellers prioritized practicality over domestic hearths. Craftsmen, workers, and trainees inhabited compact, leased spaces, frequently a solitary room atop workshops or compressed within timber structures. These accommodations fulfilled only the purpose of shelter. They were missing a vital element: a kitchen. A basic hearth was considered a luxury. Crafting a full meal from scratch posed significant challenges. This generated a wide stationary demand from those in need. Which people gathered near the snack kiosks? Initially, there were the expert artisans. A blacksmith, a leather worker, or a cloth maker labored from sunrise to sunset. He couldn't risk closing his workshop for 2 hours to return home and cook a meal. He required a hot, hearty, and inexpensive meal he could consume rapidly between brief pauses. Eventually, the unending stream of travelers arrived. Traders, travelers, and couriers reaching a city following a lengthy journey were exhausted and famished. They lacked kitchen facilities and required prompt nourishment. Although inns provided food, street vendors proved quicker and more economical. Residents in academic hubs such as Bologna or Cambridge dwelled in comparable situations, confined to communal spaces without cooking amenities. Lastly, the indigent population existed. For those on society's fringes, a single inexpensive meat pastry might cost less than buying basic components: flour, leftover meat, seasonings, and costly fuel such as charcoal or firewood for preparation. The itinerant cellar fulfilled a critical role, functioning as the city's communal feeding station, sustaining the laborers whose efforts powered its systems. It was not an extravagance. It formed a fundamental element of the city's functional framework. The dominant staple in the feudal food market, the most popular item surpassing all others, was the heated meat parcel. This represented the 14th century substitute for a pizza piece or burger, accessible, transportable, and omnipresent. However, this was not a fragile, layered pastry typical of contemporary bakeries. The crust, frequently referred to as a coffin, consisted of a dense, sturdy mixture using inexpensive flour and lard. Its main purpose was not to be tasty, but to serve as a resilient, consumable shell for the inner filling, allowing handling without smearing oil on fingers. What a filling it had! The contents changed significantly based on the location, time of year, and available affordability. Pies containing beef, pork, lamb, rabbit, or pigeon were widely available. The meat was finely ground and simmered with intense spices including pepper, cinnamon, and nutmeg. These seasonings doubled as preservation techniques, masking the scent of meat that had slightly expired. Sausages ranked highly in preference among food items. Sausages functioned as a resourceful means to repurpose all remnants of an animal. Chopped lips, lungs, and internal organs were well seasoned, combined with breadcrumbs and fat, then placed into an intestinal sheath. Roasted over an open flame and presented while still sizzling. This dish resembled a medieval sausage, offering a rapid and rich source of protein. Yet the offerings extended further. A renowned street vendor presented diverse options. You could purchase an entire roasted fowl, a modest chicken, a dove, or a sparrow, roasted over an open flame and delivered in a sheet of parchment or a broad leaf. Street merchants sold pasties, akin to pies yet shaped variably, and dense, coarse pâtés composed of ground liver and visceral organs, sold by portion and consumed with a slab of bread. Everything was prepared visibly in the public square. The atmosphere reeked of seared flesh, simmering fat, and potent herbs, intermingled with the city's more offensive scents. This cuisine lacked elegance. It was dense, oily, and brimming with the energy a worker required to endure a grueling day. A savory tart could satisfy your hunger, yet the sugary delights, sold for mere cents, offered fleeting bliss in a bleak medieval era. The medieval populace craved sweetness relentlessly, and market traders eagerly fulfilled this demand. Sugar, transported at exorbitant cost from distant lands, remained an elite indulgence, while honey thrived as a common necessity in beloved recipes. Picture strolling through a bustling lane, overwhelmed by the alluring scent of warm dough and sugared caramel. This was the cry of the waffle vendor. Vendors used a long-handled iron appliance, resembling a contemporary waffle iron but positioned above a charcoal grill, to pour a basic mix and transform it into a crunchy, golden disc. These were not the dense, airy waffles we recognize now. They were lighter and crunchier, frequently shaped into a cone or cylinder while hot. With a minor surcharge, they could be adorned with honey drizzle or sprinkled with ground spices like ginger or cinnamon. A widely enjoyed delicacy was the crepe or pancake, which bore multiple regional appellations. A chef with a scorching griddle could produce dozens of these hourly, handing them warm and freshly made to a steadily growing crowd. This was a basic, inexpensive joy that spanned all social levels, from youthful students to clerks of high-ranking clergy. For a more filling alternative, one might locate a merchant selling spiced gingerbread. This variant diverged from the tender, cake-textured gingerbread we typically encountered. Ancient gingerbread consisted of a hardened, compact treat formed from stale crumbs, syrup, and a sharp infusion of ginger alongside other seasonings. It was frequently shaped using elaborate wooden forms to produce confections depicting holy figures, creatures, or monarchs, becoming a favored item at markets and sacred celebrations. The inventory extended further. Purchasers could obtain fruits immersed in dense syrup derived from honey or sugar. Delicacies included tiny, sweet pastries that mirrored early donuts, portions of batter deep-fried and coated with fragrant sugar. Artisans provided pastries infused with sweetness and modest honey-based desserts. These delicacies served as the medieval counterpart to modern candy bars or ice cream scoops. They provided a quick, accessible surge of energy and joy, a minor act of defiance against the daily diet's monotonous flavors. The medieval city featured a distinctive soundscape, a tumultuous orchestra blending ringing church bells, creaking wooden carts over cobblestones, and the ongoing buzz of countless dialogues. Yet among the most enduring and alluring noises were the shouts of street vendors hawking their wares. No signage, branding, or promotional structures existed in those times. A cook's sole promotional method relied on a powerful voice. Throughout the day, the streets resounded with these rhythmic, recurring shouts. Steaming pastries. Warm loaves. A merchant would cry out, fresh pork and poultry available. Come and eat. Spiced pastries and cookies, shouted another vendor. Each chef employed a distinct cry, a vocal cue to pierce the din and draw in eager patrons. This was a vibrant, direct-selling hub where the most vocal communicator typically secured daily transactions. The establishment functioned as an exemplar of medieval operational efficiency. It lacked conventional seating arrangements and fixed structures. It comprised a basic wooden kiosk, a mobile charcoal griddle, or occasionally a large woven basket on the seller's head. Numerous ventures were managed by female traders, termed piewives or alewives, who prepared meals using minimal tools near their residences or specific market zones. All equipment was portable and could be assembled swiftly. The air near these stands was a war zone of odors. The alluring scent of sizzling meat, flaky pastries, and spiced sweetness from the waffle iron lingered strongly. This tempting aroma collided sharply with the city's persistent stink, decaying waste, livestock remnants, and reek of crowds. Tracing the scent of warm meals meant moving through a dangerous mix of unpleasant smells. The interaction was ruthlessly expedient. A buyer with minimal funds would arrive, indicate a tart or a bun, and surrender their coins. The chef, whose hands had probably not been cleaned in hours, would seize the dish, possibly encasing it in a leaf or scrap, then deliver it. No opportunity for small talk existed. This was the epitome of rapid service: acquire it steaming, claim it instantly, and consume it while walking. The meal you grabbed for a minimal cost reeks of pure allure. The crust is sizzling, the sauce is seething, and the fragrances of spice and clove entice the senses. Yet as you begin your first taste, a persistent doubt may stir within your present awareness. What precisely constitutes this? In the untamed, unsanitary sphere of medieval market fare, this inquiry was exceptionally prudent. The chief risks stem from the sourcing of raw materials. The urge for chefs to take shortcuts was overwhelming. Fresh meat carried a high cost, while aged meat was affordable. This culminated in a plot historians refer to as the Great Pie Conspiracy. A meat pie served as an ideal gastronomic deception to conceal low-quality meat. Was it actually beef? Was it a horse, then? Had it been recently procured or left to rot? Excessive spice application often masked decay, misleading diners. Unethical cooks sometimes employed diseased livestock or discarded remnants. Satirical works mocked meals with grotesque inclusions, highlighting societal fear of food authenticity. The shocking absence of cleanliness was undeniable. Current knowledge about microbes lagged far behind. Water came from shared wells, commonly polluted. Hands that touched your filthy currency also touched your meals. Utensils were scrubbed with soiled cloths or not at all. Insects frequently disturbed meals, while street grime inevitably tainted every serving. Contaminated meals, known as severe stomach distress, often led to painful or fatal outcomes. Municipal officials recognized these perils clearly. They waged an ongoing struggle against untrustworthy traders. Almost all urban centers imposed laws on food distribution, and professional associations set their own guidelines. Authorized officials, referred to as ale conners or food inspectors, patrolled the markets, with harsh and visible penalties for those caught offering spoiled products. A deceitful chef might end up paraded through the streets with spoiled provisions around his neck, then confined to the town square for a day of public shaming and mistreatment by former clients. In the end, each transaction with a market seller involved unpredictability. You could receive a flavorful, sustaining dish that energized you for the remainder of the day. Alternatively, you could face a permanent pass to 3 days of excruciating illness. Millions of medieval urban residents faced daily dangers without choice. As observed, the medieval street was not merely a site of dirt and hardship. It functioned as a lively, fragrant, and occasionally perilous outdoor eating space. The sphere of the pastry seller and the treat preparer might feel incomprehensibly remote, divided by centuries of historical evolution. Nevertheless, markers of their profession linger in our current environment. The core human desires that spurred the medieval quick-service sector remain the drivers of our modern billion-dollar takeout industry. The urgency of a swift meal during a brief work intermission. The urge for a warm, pre-prepared dish when no kitchen is available or energy is lacking. The demand for a budget-friendly, calorie-dense option to sustain daily productivity. The widespread yearning for a modest, sugary comfort to ease everyday burdens. Innovations have advanced, hygiene standards have improved, yet the hunger remains primordial. When you next purchase a hot dog from a sidewalk stand, savor a meat-filled turnover, or enjoy a new donut, reflect on your medieval predecessors. They also experienced the uncomplicated delight of consuming food while moving. They balanced the compromise of ease versus value, existing in an environment where hasty sustenance was simultaneously a routine demand and a hazardous risk. The imprint of medieval snacks lies not in enduring culinary formulas preserved over generations. Their authentic impact endures in the drive of street vendors, the bold seller promoting goods, and the hurried patron seeking a quick bite. A compelling insight reveals that contemporary behaviors trace origins to ancient practices. Their roots emerge from a structure established long ago in the narrow lanes of a society resembling ours.